My name is Mateusz. I will try to review two games today. So if you can, please enter the game played between Godave89 and Hyacinth. Okay, so let's start. Here in the opening, Black played some unusual attachment. Normally AI suggests to play this kind of stuff when White has a stone, for example, in this spot. When there is this Chinese opening, later it might be quite interesting to play this attachment. Why? One of the reasons is that when White plays this way, and later Black will play the same way actually what happened in the game, like this. Now, while having this stone in this spot, Black might be able to make, for example, this exchange and later just come back on the left. So now I would recommend to check what is the follow-up? What is White's shape? Like White, it looks like White has nice territory, right? Here the stone looks like it's possible to surround some nice base here in this spot, so maybe it's not so small. But the stone, it would be much more interesting if it was further away from these stones, so that it's possible to get really much more territory for White. And here, like if I would think about a follow-up in that area, then probably White would be anyway interested to play this way. But now if we are looking on the shape, what's going on, right? Like here now this stone is very close to the other stones, it's completely over-concentrated. So that now the shape starts to be kind of normal for Black, also for White. It's like some kind of an opening. So in the actual game, when the stone was not there, when Black just immediately played this attachment, now I would feel quite comfortable as White, because White doesn't have this stone, which made White over-concentrated. So that here, if we're looking on the game, in the actual game was even this shape. Black didn't make this exchange. But anyway, with or without this exchange, anyway, I feel like it's quite comfortable for White because White doesn't have this stone anywhere here. Now in this shape, what happened? Here I will just answer some questions. If anybody has any questions, feel free to write and ask. What happens if White harness on top instead? Okay, so let's move here to this variation. Like this, if White plays this way, Black can just play here on the top. If White plays like this, I meant immediately. Okay, in this shape. If Black plays this way or like this, like d5. d3 at d5. Like this. If White plays this way, it's possible to play Sansan. Then like playing something like this. Something this way. Like in my opinion, White can play actually anything, and it will be still fine for White. Like this attachment is just, in my opinion, not so good. So maybe it's also possible to play like this. This looks just like the most simple stuff, which White should feel quite comfortable. Like maybe this one is also fine for White to play this way. After this, maybe it's also okay to play like this. So in the actual game, Black just played this free space extension, and then White played some Tenuki. Here it's quite big to continue playing this move, because if Black doesn't answer, later it's possible to play something like this. So suddenly Black is in some trouble. Like even if Black tries to connect somehow, White can just connect here underneath, so Black is left without a base. Godave here writing, I learned that in review, and next game I played e5. Like here, this shape also creates some follow-up for White. Like this probably most natural move in many cases would be just to extend, but this extension now is not center anymore. because black has a stone here in this spot. So white might be still interested to like be able to get a wall while playing this move. Now if black tries to play some Hanna, white can answer, and there is still some agi, there is still some weakness in black's shape. If black plays some tenuki, white is able to cut. So black has all the time some problem. So later, if black plays this way, white is able to capture maybe this stone. If black plays from the other side, might be also possible to play, for example, this way. So yeah, something is gonna be not so good for black in this case. Yeah, but maybe right now it's too small to play this way. Now black will play tenuki, even if white will capture these 3 stones on the left, still it's not so big. But sooner or later, it might be quite interesting for white to play this way if white wants to get a wall and create some weakness in black's shape. So yeah, this is some follow-up for white. Yeah, in the actual game, white played some tenuki and later played the sansa, and this looks pretty big. Here, black simply blocked. This shape looks weird, in my opinion. Here, black has a stone, not so far away, so now white enters this area where black had a stone. I feel like white should feel quite comfortable here in that corner. I'm wondering, because normally if there is some stone around, it would be good to play something else. For example, when there is a stone in this side, when it's here, or somewhere in that area, normally black plays this way. Later, if white tries to play something like that and later cut, black can create this fight, which is like, of course, it's like extremely complicated Joseki and so on. But this stone, which is like not so far away, is going to help black in this potential fight. So I think it's possible to play something like this for black. Here, it doesn't really matter if this exchange is played or no. Yeah, but I think it would be more interesting for black this way. Now, when we look on this shape, it looks like black played here on the left, like this stone, and black, what is black doing? Black is just taking here a few points to create a base, but black doesn't get any other profit. Now here white is able, actually not able, white already destroyed black's potential, which could be there. So in my opinion, it would be more interesting for black to use, maybe in a little bit more interesting way, this stone, this marked stone, and playing some fight. Yeah, if there is nothing around, like no stone around, then most likely this is going to be better move. Yeah, but now there is a stone, so I would recommend to play this way. So later in the actual game, black played there, white played tenuki, and black played also some tenuki. Okay, there is some fight, some crazy attachment, but maybe it's fine. Okay, let's. Oh, this move, in my opinion, is not so good because it helps white. In the actual game, black made this exchange and later black came back. But actually, what about playing just here? In case white plays tenuki, now black doesn't need to play this way. It's possible to do something more. It's possible to cut the stone, and if black gets this stone cut, white can only connect, and the black can crawl on the second line. But while this crawling, black can get a good shape, and then black can just kill the corner. It's huge. So I feel like black should be very satisfied if it goes this way. And if white was just answering the corner like this, black has no more weaknesses. Black is completely protected here in this shape. It's not possible for white to cut black's shape. So I feel like black should feel very, very happy, actually. Yeah, so this exchange, in my opinion, is not so necessary. Also, like if white answers there, it's even center for black. So I would really recommend to play this way in this case. In the actual game, I'm even wondering, maybe it's possible to cut here like this, get some not so bad shape for white, just to do some house. Like here, I'm thinking about this because maybe later black can get also not so bad shape. If white plays tenuki, later it's possible to get this one with or without that exchange which happened on the left. Like this, black protects a little bit all these cuts which are around, but yeah, we will come back to this. God Dave is writing, but I thought I don't get much from that fight. Okay, so like let's play a few moves. Later I will just try to explain a little bit more. Yeah, black played like this. Okay, some exchange like this. Black protected a bit here, some cut like this. Okay, so later black played some tenuki. Okay, and later black played something there. Now in this moment, instead of this connection, black is able to play like this. So while playing this tiger's mouth, let's say white would even exchange this, and later white would need to come back. So black gets a stone which goes more to the right, so that black somehow can start to surround bigger area. In this case, like black will have just one more stone which goes in the center. Now, actually, we have an exchange. A for B. White plays a move on the first line, and black plays some move which does something more. Like it can help with creating some eye, for example, here. It can also create with making some base, for example, here on the first line. So if we compare it to the game, when black connected and white played this way, now there is a little bit more weaknesses. Like, for example, if white plays Tanuki, later, at least it's more difficult for black to play this way because now it's possible to cut. If this black stone was in this position, now white doesn't have this possibility to play this way when ladder works well for black. Yeah, so in the actual game, we've got this shape. Okay, I will just come back. Sorry. Yeah, if white makes this kind of exchanges, like for example, this for this for this, even if white plays Tenuki in this spot, what shape can black get? What shape is going to be? If white plays some Tenuki, but after this exchange, black anyway is going to get this one, right? And then white will come back. So now we've got an A instead of B. So that it's much easier for white to continue this kind of fight. Black cannot get so much anymore. If white waits with this cut and white plays some Tenuki, later when black gets this one, even if black would connect like this, later it's more difficult for white to cut because after this, black will not connect. Black will play something like this. So black can create a bigger base, bigger like territory and so on. So here, if it would be possible for white to make this exchange first, yeah, when white makes this exchange, even if white doesn't continue, maybe this one is not so necessary to continue this fight. But even in this case, if white plays just some Tenuki, later just black doesn't have this follow-up. Of course, black can try to play like this, but but white is also able to play, for example, this way, so that white is gonna survive in the corner anyway. Yeah, but later, in my opinion, black cannot get this like so nice shape as black could in the actual game. Here in the game, I'm wondering, actually, isn't it possible to play this way? Just to capture these two stones? What about this one? If white plays this way, what can black do? Like after this one, okay, black can get free liberties and basically that's it. So yeah, I feel like this move what black played, actually it's some kind of overplay in my opinion, this one. Maybe possible to play just something else. I don't know where to play something like this. Maybe. Okay, but like this, I think white can get quite good shape. Later, we've got these exchanges. Black played here. Later, black escaped. Okay. This move looks a bit suspicious in my opinion. because does black really need to play there? Like if white cannot cut, black is able to make some shape so that for white is not interesting to cut, black gets a handicap actually. In this case, this move looks quite nice because when white answers, black can connect. So if white connects, now actually if we are looking on the shape, after this move it's possible even to play the most simple stuff like this. So black is able to connect without any problems, and actually white still cannot connect these two groups. These two groups are still quite separated, right? So if it's possible to play something else, like not to waste this move actually, then I would recommend to play the something else. Doesn't necessarily need to be this move. Maybe it's possible to play something else, whereas it would be possible to play just to get this group stronger. Maybe this one would work well also, so that when white plays like this, later black can create some base. And here this cutting point starts to be not so interesting anymore. So because black is alive there below, so if white anyway is not going to cut, then black does need to sacrifice the stone and play this almost dama in the center, and black can get just some territory here on the side. So this move looks very slow actually, in my opinion. Yeah, and here also white can continue. This move looks good because white can even put some pressing, because black played here, like in this spot, later white can even continue, so that if black doesn't answer now, then this move looks strange. This is what black played earlier, this one. Because if black plays some tenuki, later white is able, for example, to play this Atari, and suddenly black has got, this awesome shape here. So white should be just satisfied. Okay. Later, white played actually similar. Here, in my opinion, it looks a little bit not necessary to play this way, because it's not possible to cut. But maybe instead of this move, what about this move? Yeah, like this, there starts to be some fight. Like if black plays like this, here maybe even white can escape with this stone. If black comes back, white can already connect. This move looks maybe dangerous. It looks like, in my opinion, it should work to cut. But this move, I don't really understand why playing in this spot. Even if white just escapes somewhere outside, and even if black would be able to make this exchange in center, actually, it's still quite, there is still some margin. Like if black plays like this, white can connect, and later there are some weaknesses in this shape. If black plays like this, white can play here. If black plays here, white can cut. If black plays like this, white can even play this way. And now it's possible to capture these three stones. In this moment, it's a bit risky, because when black is able to get all this stuff and later play this way, now white has a weak group in the center. But later, who knows? Maybe it will work well. So in my opinion, it's not necessary to play in the spot, same like before for black playing here. Like it looks like it's a good shape, because it is a good shape. Tiger's mouth looks very nice. But like here, later when white got this follow-up, this continuation, for black it would be this risk of making this empty triangle. It's quite big risk. So later when white plays here, black kind of needs to continue, and white easily escapes with this group in center actually. Because white doesn't need to play here this kind of keima, it's gote. White is able to play this one, and actually white escapes even in center. So this speed, in my opinion, is quite important. Here, maybe it's not so important to play this next extension for white. If white plays only one extension, maybe it's good, because if white plays tenuki now, black can just block white from going outside. So this looks huge for black. But if white makes this one exchange like this, now it's already not so easy to block white, right? Like if black plays like this, white can still escape somehow with this group. If black plays like this, white can still play, for example, here, maybe even like this. All the time white is able to escape. So maybe this is not so necessary. He got Dave writing, yeah, I underestimated just how strong Black's shape already is. Yeah, Black already has quite strong shape. Yes, now, yeah, strong shape. So Black actually doesn't need to answer. And Black played Tenuki, good. It looks like good decision for Black to play Tenuki now. Like all these moves here, what White played, it was the main reason was to make this group alive, right? But it's, in my opinion, not so easy for White to get any like territorial profit in the center. Here there is one group from Black, here one group from White, one group for Black. Like it looks like it's very difficult to get there any points for anybody in this area. So investing there these moves, in my opinion, maybe it's not so necessary, like in this case for White. Here, Black started some fighting, looks interesting. And later Black played here. I'm wondering, what if White plays just Sansan? After the Sansan, how to play for Black? If Black plays this one, Black gets not so nice shape. Maybe later White can still try to do there something, so maybe somehow White can do some problems. Maybe there will be some ko, or yeah, there is some agi. Maybe possible to get this one. So if White gets this move center, this one will be center, because I will just show here it's possible to cut. So when White gets this move in center, later it's possible to cut. So there starts to be some agi. Even if White would die in that corner, still it might be possible for White to get some profit, like getting this kind of moves in center. So it's already, in my opinion, quite big profit. So there is some agi in the corner. Normally, in this kind of shape, I would recommend Black not to let White create that shape, even if making this one exchange and later playing this schema. I think the shape already looks more interesting for Black, because White doesn't have this possibility of cutting that easily. Like this, Black can just block from the other side. So this, like all potential of Sansan is not that big anymore. So maybe it's possible to make this exchange. Maybe if Black wants, maybe it's possible even to play Tenuki. Maybe this one more exchange and now Tenuki. So like even if White blocks, still I think maybe nothing will work in the corner. Yeah. But in the actual game, Black played there, so White got center. White played here in the center. Okay. Black played there. This looks very big. Now Black protects all this agi in the corner. Looks like a big move. And White played here. Later, Black started to do problems for White. Maybe it's possible to play something else. What about this one? Like this, White protects anyway both weaknesses. This one, like with escape of that stone, and also this one, so it's not possible to cut here anymore. Also, White tries to attack a little bit Black stones, because later there is some agi here. If Black would play some Tenuki, later it might be also a bit annoying for Black when White is able to play, for example, in this spot. So I'm wondering about this one. Later, I feel like Black got quite good shape. Here, in my opinion, in this shape, there is quite big difference between if having Blackstone in this spot or in this spot. Because this ko, it's only a ko. White cannot really connect that easily. There is only a ko. So if Black has many ko threads, Black might be able, for example, to get this kind of moves in center. If White will need to answer because Black has plenty of ko threads, maybe it will be possible for Black to get this kind of exchange. It looks already very big, because now White doesn't have this so nice shape. White just is escaping with a group which is not necessarily even alive if Black has really many ko threads. So here, this shape what Black got, I think it's like good for Black. Here, I feel like this move what White played, it's maybe not so interesting. Here black played there. Okay, here we've got some fight. And now black protected this way. It looks like there is some agi. If black plays like this, white can play here. If black connects, white can cut. Maybe in this moment it doesn't work well because it's possible to still do some problems against this white group in the center. But if there is this kind of agi, it means that any moves in the center might be center for white. Any move what white plays there might be quite big profit for white, like this, like this, like this, because maybe it will be center. So here I'm wondering maybe it's possible to play this way. And later, if white escapes, maybe black can just continue some attack. Maybe it's possible to play something this way for black, so that there is no this agi. Yeah. So let's continue. Here, black survived on the right. But here there is still only ko. Like if white plays here, it's not that easy for black to cut because white is all the time able to play this ko. So maybe it's possible to try to kill. Like if black was completely connected here in this spot, then it would look like, okay, black has maybe a bit more liberties in the semi between these two groups. So maybe it would be like okay for white to connect from the other side. But in this position, it looks like maybe white can try to kill and just having this call. Here also, the next thing is that when black will try to cut, this kind of stuff is also a cost threat. This is also a cost threat. Like we need to come back. So this shape what white gets is not so bad, this shape outside. So now just winning the score and it will be fine. Here later in the game, we've got some next fight. Here, this connection looks also, in my opinion, a bit too slow. Like black played here this peep, white played here, but maybe it's possible to play even like this. Now black takes away this eye space from white. Before, it was quite easy for white to make here an eye in this spot. But now it starts to be already more difficult. So if this eye space in that spot is more difficult to make, maybe it's also possible to do some more problems while playing something like this. So later or here, it might be possible to attack this white group. There was this exchange. Black made this exchange. I'm wondering, is it really necessary to make this exchange? This A for B or for B? Actually, why didn't white answer here? Like maybe it's not so necessary to make this exchange, because if black plays this way, now there starts to be a cutting point. It's possible to try to cut here in this spot. So like this, black gets anyway this possibility. And after making this kind of exchange, that black played here and white answered, now there is no more cutting point in that area. So it doesn't matter if white plays like this or like this. This kind of stuff or this kind of stuff, it might not be center. So actually, this is what happened in the game. White played Tenuki. Yeah, so maybe it would be possible to play this way and try to get this center somehow for black. Also, if white plays, for example, where can white play? White can play like this. Here, it's possible even to play here below or trying like this. Also, so that white makes some exchanges, so black gets stronger. When black gets stronger, it's also like some profit for black. Here later, even though it's not possible to cut like this, it's still possible to have this shape a little bit stronger. Comparing to the actual game, what happened when black played like this, white answered here, black played here, black is just trying to survive with this group. And here, if we compare this result with this one, when white makes this exchange and black plays here, now black gets points, black gets territory. White cannot even cut that easily anymore because black can play here. Later, if white tries to do something there, again, there is this cutting point. So yeah, I would really recommend to play here in this spot now. Yeah, black decided to cut this shape. Why? Is it really necessary to play in this spot? What if black doesn't play there? What is the plan? Hyacinth, can you hear me? Why did you make this exchange? Can't remember. Okay. Like this, it looks like black made these exchanges and black finished in Gote. Now white has possibility to do anything. White doesn't need to continue. White can just play some tenuki. So yeah, maybe it's not so necessary to play in that spot. Here white connected. This one, maybe it's also not necessary to play here for white. Is it big? Later, of course, black can play here in this spot. There might be some call. Yeah, but it's only a call for a few points. So it doesn't look like very big one. Here, I'm also wondering, is it really necessary to make this exchange? This one, A for B. After this exchange, what happens? Anyway, black came back. Black made this exchange and later came back. So if black doesn't make this exchange and black plays just like this, later there might be a possibility for black to play, for example, like this. So if white connects like this, if white connects like this, and it's possible to kill these stones. But after this exchange, when black plays like this, like, okay, there is some magic here in this position. Here, there is some cutting point. But anyway, white is going to protect it somehow now. Here, what Dave is writing, yeah, I was quite happy with that exchange. Yeah, so in my opinion, it's not necessary to play in this spot. Here we've got this exchange. Also, this one, I don't really understand why playing this exchange. Like white gets a little bit bigger chance to play anything there in black's territory. Yeah, here there was some possibility for black to play this one for the last couple of moves. Actually, this connection, it looks maybe a little bit risky for white because now black has this possibility of playing this S2 move. So what's going on here? If white connects, black actually can try to kill, and black even can do many problems for white there. Here, if white plays like this, black can play something this way. So there might be some call. If white connects, black can just kill this group. If white plays like this, black is able to cut. If white plays like this, here it's possible to survive with this group, but it's like very big loss anyway. if white plays this way, black is going to play some ko. So actually, probably white would play this ko. It looks like white's only chance to play anything there, it would be to play this ko. So later, maybe it's possible to play some ko threads and so on. Yeah, it looks like it's big because black threatens to kill all this white's group. Later, black decided to make all these exchanges, but okay, black made this call. And this cost didn't really work. Okay, so now suddenly white died with that group. So it looks like it's game over in this moment. Here in this situation on the top, there is again some kind of semi-AI. Normally, how to play in this kind of positions? Like white played here this attachment to create some base. Normally, if somebody has bigger base in semi-AI, the easier to survive because this other player to kill will need to play something inside. So in this position, white started to have here some extra space of making base. So maybe instead of this just blocking like this for black, what about playing this from this side? If white answers, to get center, black can even connect, but even if black plays like this all the time, white cannot really cut. Black is all the time able to connect everything there. So even if white plays like this, white doesn't have this space, this local base. So in my opinion, it should be easier to kill white in this case. I think white dies. So black has a lot of space actually, this inside this local one. So I would recommend for black to create this white's base a little bit smaller. Yeah, in the actual game, here black decided to survive. Actually, after killing all this group, here on the right, it looks like black is winning quite a lot. So black doesn't need to even try to kill white's group on the top. Yeah, here we've got a few more moves. Here in this spot, it's possible to play this way. Later, if white extends, it's possible to connect anyway. Like this, white has a little bit less territory and black can get more because black has this possibility of cutting here these two stones. And if white plays there, white will not have there so many points as if we compare this situation with this one. Yeah, here there was one more thing. Somehow, black played there and white played maybe a bit too much. Probably white needs to play a little bit safer. Yeah, but anyway, black is winning in this game after capturing that group on the right. It's quite big. Do you have any questions about this game? Yeah, here, God Day writing. Yeah, last thing to try. Yeah, possible to try, of course. If there are no questions, maybe let's have a look on the second game. Here, this match is between Silk Road and Ithalor. Here, black played the Sansan. Normally, Sansan is not very popular in this shape. Normally, the Sansan is played when wall which white gets is not very useful. It's not very powerful. Here, in this case, when white got this wall in the game, it looks like it's quite strong. Here, either writing, I noticed that AI plays pincer at L3 sometimes. You know when it is best to play that? This one, I guess. Yeah, like this. Actually, in many cases, it's possible to play something like this because now what can white do? If white jumps, then this exchange, this A for B, it gives black some territory. Like, of course, it's not 100% territory yet, but it gives black some base here. And white just plays some move in the center. So later, after this exchange, all the time, black is able to play, for example, Sansan. That's what happened in the game. Black can also try some other moves, for example, like this. But even after the Sansan, this exchange, this A for B, is already going to be some plus, in my opinion, for black. So if it's going to be exchanged first and later playing Sansan, I think it should be a good exchange for black. Later, this wall starts to be a little bit over-concentrated. Yeah, and if after this move, white tries to fight a little bit more, for example, to kick black first and later play like this, so that now it's more difficult for black to enter the corner. Like, of course, it's possible to play there some Sansan like this. Just it's not that easy anymore because black will be like separated. Now black is more heavy with these two stones. So that even if black would somehow survive in the corner, when white is able to attack these two stones, it's bigger. So yeah, it would be interesting for white to make this kind of exchange. But now, while making this exchange, now it's more interesting for black to jump, for example, like this. Here there is a question here, when would you play e6 or f6 or f7? This one after white j5 or d5. This one. Okay. Yeah, after this one, I would recommend to play something like this. It doesn't really matter where exactly, it can be also this. This one would be also fine. It doesn't really matter where exactly. I like this one because it's faster. Yeah, like this, there starts to be this agi in the corner. If black is at some point, let's say in 50 moves or maybe even 100, when black will be completely protected with that, with those stones on the F line, then the Sansan starts to be a little bit annoying for white. Yeah, but like this, white also gets this territory. Later, if white just answers something like this, white will have all this big corner. Maybe it's playable. Maybe it's possible to play like this. Maybe it's possible to play this way. I don't know. Personally, I like this one. So after this move, if white plays here, black can just keep everything connected. Or if white wants to separate something like this, anyway, this black's corner is pretty big. If white connects, black can make this exchange and later play Tanuki. Black destroys quite a lot. If white plays like this, white can get center, but if white plays Tanuki, there is again some cutting point. There are some agi. So anyway, I feel like this corner is not so small. And if white tries to play something else, if white plays like this, actually even now it's possible to play in the corner, just in this case it's a bit smaller because white can make this kind of exchange. Yeah, later this corner is a little bit smaller. Now black doesn't get this move here in so a nice way as it was earlier. But even like this corner is pretty big, but now black has this possibility of playing this way. So if white comes black can also cut and create some fight. Now this stone, it looks maybe not very strong, this white stone. So I like this move. Yeah, maybe white can also play this one. Later, black usually plays this kind of shape, like this. And now, when black already got a little bit stronger, I would recommend to play in this spot, for example, so it's possible to attack this white stone. Here, there is a weakness, it's possible to cut, but now it's just not important anymore because black will just get a wall. And now this stone starts to be very weak. So black can play anything like this, and now white has quite big problem. Yes, so this is another possibility. I like this one more. In most of programs, what I saw after playing some pincer, black plays this way. So I would recommend to play something like this. Sansan in many places is good when black has some stone. Like if black will have a stone in this spot, later Sansan is big. Sansan is big because this wall, what white can get, like this, doesn't have a good extension, doesn't have any extension basically. So if white cannot make a good extension from the wall, then it means in most of cases that it's just good for black. So when black has some stone somewhere around this place, something like this, or somewhere there, then the Sansan is usually quite big. But when white has a stone there, like in this spot, then the Sansan, in my opinion, is not that interesting because this wall has a nice extension. So it's quite comfortable to play for white like this. Here, maybe it's possible to make this exchange and later come back. Like this, there are still some small agi in white shape. Doesn't matter where white will play, but there are some agi. Doesn't matter if white plays like this, or anything else. Might be possible to do there some problems. Maybe it would be possible to get this kind of stuff in center. Yeah, so there are some more weaknesses in white shape, even though it looks like white starts to get some bigger area, bigger base and so on. But after making this exchange, white just doesn't have problems. Even this kind of stuff are not sent anymore. Black would need to play from both sides like this, what is like not possible to get two moves at once. Yeah, so there are basically no more center for black. White is very strong, so usually it's better to exchange this kind of stuff. In some cases it might be risky. Maybe white can try to kill somehow the corner, but when white doesn't have so many stones around, I think it might be difficult for white to play anything there. Maybe black can even connect and play something like this. Also, it's possible to play here for black. So it looks like it should be fine for black. Later, black played that move. Here, what about this connection? White has already some nice stones somewhere here. White gets some influence. Maybe it's possible to continue having this kind of stuff while making this exchange. So white gets quite nice base. White doesn't even need to play there. White can already play some tenuki. Just for black, it's very difficult to create a base inside that white area. So I think it should be quite comfortable for white anyway. So here I would recommend just to connect, because white has these other stones lower, which are quite like matching quite well with the top, because white can suddenly make a big base. Even if black would answer, white would make this exchange. Even if adding some move there, it's already pretty big. Yeah, but maybe it's even possible to play Tanuki. Maybe it's possible even to make one more exchange or something like that to get this base even bigger. Yeah, so even if black plays like this, still there might be like there is also some agi with this one. Yeah, but even if white would just answer this way, still white creates like quite big base. If this were the game, how would you suggest black handle the left side? If this was the game in this spot, just in this moment, maybe I will just answer here once more. Later, if white plays anything like this, it's possible to play some double Hanna. Like it looks like it's very big, but white's only territory is this area. White doesn't have territory in more spots, like black might have territory in more spots. So maybe it's possible to play just this way. If black would have played here and white would not cut, white would play this way. This one might be a little bit risky, because it might be possible to play something like this for white. Later black needs to come back, something in the corner. This starts to be a little bit difficult for black, in my opinion. Here earlier, maybe this one in this moment is not so good timing. Maybe possible just to come back so that white cannot get this nice moyo. But even after this one, what else would be possible to play? If cutting, if cutting like this, white is able to cut. Now white doesn't have a stone in this spot. White might play a little bit further. So it's possible to get bigger area there. But now if black gets the corner, white doesn't have this nice profit here on the left anymore, because black can actually play here in the spot, and it's difficult for white to handle that situation. Like if white plays like this, black has a chance to connect here underneath, and if white tries to cut something there, black can basically play anything, and it should be no problem for black to survive. So maybe in this moment it would be a bit more interesting to capture the corner anyway. Like if I was black, probably I would play like this. In the actual game, white played this way. Now there is this agi. Like normally after the situation, when white is not really very strong around, black connects in almost every case. So if white plays this way, black can play something like this. There is some kind of Joseki. Later it's possible to play here. If white plays this way, black might play here. If black would have some stones around, somewhere there, black can try even to play this way. Sorry, I made some exchange. Okay, white should play this way. Sorry, white should play this way. If black would have some stones around like this, then black can connect. If white tries to cut, black can play here. After this, black can escape. Yeah, now when black doesn't have these stones, it might be a bit painful, because white can play something there on the top. Black has just a heavy group, so like this, it should be good for white. But in this case, black doesn't need to play there anymore. It's possible to play some tenuki. Maybe possible to make this exchange or this exchange for this one. So black gets some group, which is not so weak. Yeah, white gets these free stones captured, but here it's quite important to have this exchange. It's a huge plus for black to be able to make this kind of exchange AB, so that this ponuki is not really very painful for black. This is some kind of Joseki, actually. It might be also possible for white to play this way. After this move, usually black just jumps and tries to escape with those stones, because here, if white played the same, this exchange A for B, it is some help for black. Black gets some more stones there, so it's possible to create a little bit better shape. This is some kind of, these are some kind of possibilities, what's possible to do after this opening. Here, it might be also possible for white, for example, to play this way. Later, if black plays like this, when white wants to spoil the shape, black can play something like this. It's also some other possibility. Later, if white connects, black can play, for example, something like this. So it's possible to escape with these stones. This is another possibility. Like both moves for white are fine, like this or like this. But almost always, if white doesn't have very strong shape around, black connects. So I would recommend to connect. Here, when black already got another stone on the top and white played tenuki, now really it's very big to connect in that spot. Now white cannot even gain so much here on the top. When white before got this wall, maybe white would play here in this spot. But now when black already has a stone, it's even smaller. So this connection is pretty big. And this move looks unusual. Like after this move, what white played is O3. White creates some agi in the corner. Normally, if black plays tenuki, later there is agi to play here. So if black plays like this, white has possibility to survive in the corner, like this, and so on. If white plays something like this, white can play here, and anyway, it's possible to survive in the corner. If black connects, white can play something like this, so it's alive. After this kind of stuff, there are some problems. So might be also possible to cut immediately sometimes. So it's possible generally to survive in the corner. But surviving the corner, maybe it's anyway not that big, because here, what is white trying to do? Like white has some strong groups around, white has some wall. Here there is this agi, so if white will survive in this corner, maybe it will be also possible somehow to get center for black, so black can connect and later start to create some fight. So if black has some wall in this spot, later this fight in the other part of the board might be quite interesting for black because black just has stronger shapes. So the Sansan in this moment, I feel like it's not very interesting for white to play there at all, like now. So because black gets this strong shape, so later also next thing is that white might not have, for example, territory in this shape. So there is this agi, but maybe it's not so big to use it now. So if it's not so big to use it now, maybe black doesn't need to protect. Like normal protection of the corner for black is to play this way. This is the common shape in that corner to answer. Yeah, in the actual game, black decided to play like this, and there started to be two big territories, one on the right, one here below and on the left. But maybe instead of that one, if the corner is not so interesting for white, it's possible to try to make white like maybe a little bit over concentrated. Like this, if white plays like this, black can jump. If white plays like this, black can jump. So black gets some light stones. So in this shape, it starts to be actually even less interesting to play in the corner because black starts to get some territory there while having the other stones. Also, white cannot get their big territory here in that site where it was in the game. Yeah, so maybe it's possible to play this kind of shoulder hit for black so that white cannot get a big base. Also, if white ignores this kind of stuff, later it's possible to cut. There are some problems for white. Now black has like big power, so white cannot really ignore it so easily. If white plays this way, still it's possible to cut. White is not going to have there any points. And still it's not that easy to play in the corner because if black gets this kind of a wall, these two stones starts to be weaker. So all the time this Sansan is not that interesting for white. So I think it's possible to play either Tanuki, either if black wants to play something on this bottom, maybe something like this to get white a bit over concentrated, because now white gets these stones quite close to the other group. Yeah, so maybe this one would be the option. Playing like this and giving white so big area looks big. Yeah, I'm wondering about double Hanna. Like after this move, like actually in quite many games of some professionals, it's possible to see that somebody plays double Hanna and later ignores this. Like if one player will answer, later it's possible to ignore. In this case, it's still quite big to capture that stone, but it's possible to continue, for example, by playing this move, so that black just gets bigger space. Black gets here more on this side already. But here I was wondering, actually, maybe even it's possible to play this double Hanna even in this moment, even like this. When black plays here, what can white do? If white answers, it looks like it's already good exchange because white's potential is reduced. So there might be already some plus. Actually, maybe even black can ignore this because if black plays Tanuki, even if white captures the stone, black is going to have some ladder breakers in the other corner. So this one might be not so painful for black. There might be some agi with this one. This might be a little bit painful, but while playing all this stuff there, all the time there is some agi here. So maybe these kind of moves are going to be center for black, or some other moves like this. Because white doesn't have liberties with these three stones, it might be possible to cut. So there are quite a lot of agi in white shape as well. It's not only agi in black shape, it's also agi in white shape. So in my opinion, it's possible even to play so deep, so far away for black, because when white cuts here, black might cut here. So this is another possibility. I think it's possible to try to make it smaller. This is what white gets. Yeah, and black can also try to get a little bit bigger moyo. Yeah, many times it's possible to play really double Hanna in many positions. Double Hanna is always powerful. Yeah, might be. Actually, like my first thought in this spot Now this what is on the board would be also to play double Hanna for white. Just in this case, it might be a bit more risky because there are also some weaknesses in white shape. So maybe in this spot it's too much. Maybe white needs to play this way. Yeah, but many times double Hanna is very powerful. Maybe here still it's possible to play double Hanna. Like even if white tries to cut here, like already we can notice that white strengthened black a little bit. Now this stone is not that weak anymore when white starts to make this kind of exchanges. Even if it would be something like this, even if white would cut. Now let's say we've got this kind of stuff, even if white would capture these two stones and so on, white played so many bad exchanges that black is just very happy. So double Hanna, yeah, really many times are very powerful. Many times possible to play double Hanna and Tenuki if white answers. Yeah, in this case, white played here, black started to do some problems for white on the bottom. Here, if starting to do some problems, like there is this cutting point for black. After this move, it was quite easy for white. Black is left without like possibility of making really some ice base. So if there is all the time possibility to cut, maybe it would be more interesting to start while playing, for example, like this. Later, if white plays here, it's possible to do some Hanna, and maybe sooner or later, it might be possible to play here this cutting point. So it's possible to do there some house, some mess in white's area. This is actually what probably is interesting, just to do there as many complicated things as possible in that area. Maybe possible to cut as well and doing some crazy stuff there. After this, it looks like it's quite easy for white to answer. White already protected everything. White protected here cuts. It's not possible to cut here anymore, not possible to cut here anymore. And black doesn't have space to make two eyes. So these exchanges look at least strange. Even black actually lost some endgame, because if playing like this, it's also center for black. Later it's possible to cut, so it's also some endgame. But after these exchanges, it's not possible to get even that. So maybe better just not to play anything on the bottom and play some Tenuki. Maybe this connection. This looks really very big. Yeah, white gets big territory. But here, like, if I was white, I guess I would think, what is now the next step? First of all, is it enough to have all these points? If black gets all this right side, is it enough? Yeah, is it enough for white to have the stones? So maybe it's possible just to reduce. If white will play here, black will answer like this or like this. Later, maybe white will play something like this. Is it enough for white to play like this? If yes, maybe it's easy way to play. If it's not enough, then white will be interested in playing some invasion on the right. But if deciding to make this invasion, is this exchange really a good exchange for white? Now black gets one more stone. It's some help for black, actually. So if white plans to play anything on the right side and try to leave there, then this exchange, in my opinion, it's not so good exchange. So maybe possible just to play something else. In the actual game, white made some exchanges. Now even this exchange, what I also don't understand, because this kind of exchange, if white makes, again, there is less space on the right to do any problems, because maybe it would be also possible to play like this if white tries to do anything on the right. So this one, anyway, looks like it will be always center. So maybe not necessary to make these kind of exchanges. Here in the actual game, black blocked and white started to play something there. But I don't understand this like idea of playing here now. Like white made all these exchanges, like black got here much stronger, and now white plays here inside black's area. It looks really, in my opinion, not the best order. Like I would really recommend to play there first, so there is big space. If white decided that it's not enough for him to get just territory, there will be more space to survive, bigger chance to play something on the right. Here, this move, like I would be thinking more about playing something inside actually for black. Maybe it's possible to play something like this. For white, it looks like maybe it's more interesting to try to get this base. Here after this one, it's actually maybe possible to play something like what happened in the actual game. Maybe it's possible to cut and kill something for black. So there might be problem with ice for white. After this, I didn't understand why not just making two ice like this. It looks like it's game over. After this, white plays here. Black doesn't have territory, so it's finished. Here, I think white played very greedy. Even after this, it's still possible to play here, so white will be alive. After this move, white can play like this. After this move, white can play like this. Here, even if black tries to reduce this base, still white is going to survive. It's just too much space. So if like this, white will be alive, and playing this way and letting black do some crazy stuff. In my opinion, white was just very greedy. So now it starts to be an open game, actually, if black kills all that right side. Yeah, so suddenly these ones might be it really might be some help for black. Here, white was trying to do there something with that group. Here, like, the game was pretty close later. And if white already saw at some point that it's not possible to make their two eyes, I would really recommend to check if this kind of moves work. Because, for example, here there is an endgame. Nice endgame, because if black doesn't have a stone here, later it might be possible for white just to imagine that this is going to be center, so later there's Tesuji to play in this spot. But when black has a stone in this spot, this Tesuji doesn't work anymore, because it might be possible for black to cut. So if white doesn't see like it's possible to survive, then maybe it's more interesting not to play this kind of stuff and waiting for endgame. Here again, just some like moves what white played. White sacrificed these stones, so black gets more territory. Maybe it would be also more interesting for white just to start with something like this, and if black cuts, maybe then cutting here. Like it's some other idea, or getting some other cuts first. I don't know, like this, like anything, just to be able to not to need this kind of exchanges like with these three stones. And actually, it also didn't even work. So maybe instead of all these cards, it's possible to try to play something else. If white plays like this, white can create some core. Like this, later black can play like this. There is some core. If white has many core threads, maybe possible to play this way. If white would have some possibility to connect with all this group there, maybe it's quite big anyway to try to play this way. But now white, it's probably already going to be very difficult for white to connect everything. So now it might be a bit risky to play this way. Yeah, so later we've got a few exchanges like this. And actually white finished in Gote. It's also quite big. Here it looks like it's a very huge move to block there all these points. Actually, maybe it's even possible to play like this. So yeah, more points for white. Here, center. So here, basically the question is this a center? If it is not center, then maybe black doesn't need to make this exchange yet. If it is a center, okay, then maybe it's still quite big because it would be double center. In my opinion, it's not center. It's not possible to kill black's group in the corner. After this, it's possible to play like this. After this, it's possible to play like this. In my opinion, not possible to kill. So if it's not possible to kill, this one is not going to be center for white. So these exchanges, what black made, just strengthened white. white has more stones there. So if looking on this, what happened later, black started to do there something, and now white gets some help. This is some help. If black wants to try to do some problems for white group, it's possible to run to something. But here, I have a question actually to everyone in the group. There is some Tesuji in white shape. After this move, black can do some problems still in that area. How to play? How to play in that area? Still possible to do something in this spot if looking like this. Any ideas how to play there? C13 like this or C12 like this. C13, this dice like this. Even if playing here, still white is able to connect. There is some Tesuji. It's possible to do really many problems for white in that area. Any ideas where to play for black? D13. Exactly. This looks very annoying. What can white play? If white plays here, black enters the center. If white plays like this, black can cut. Also possible to enter quite easily. It's possible even to play like this and later cut. So like this, it doesn't work. What else can white play? If white plays this way, maybe it's possible to play here and cut as well. If white plays something like this, here, even if black plays here and later cuts, it looks big enough to get. If black tries to play something this way, maybe white can also try to connect somehow, but it's also a bit risky because this connection is center, so still it looks like it's possible to do there many problems for white. Yeah, so there is a problem. Yeah, at least some core. So it is a problem. After this move, I think white cannot really answer well on this move. So in the actual game, when black played here and white can simply answer this way, there are no problems. White answered here, however. So now again, it looks like there are some weaknesses. Now maybe it's possible to play like this. Here, trying to play something. Something like this. Maybe this is like one option to try to do there some problems. Maybe it's possible to make these exchanges just extend. Later, if white connects, black can make this exchange. Black can also play like this. It looks like it's very risky for white. At least risky. I think maybe black can really kill, but at least it's risky for white. And anyway, white will need to come back. After this move, white still needs to come back somewhere there. So maybe it's bigger to just answering calmly. Here in the actual game, black connected the stone and later white played here on the top. This connection, how many points it is? It looks very small. 2 points for the captured stone, 3, 4. Basically, that's it. 4 points. And here it's much bigger. If black plays like this, black gets here 1, 2, 3, 4 already. And this is what white could get. If black plays like this, white gets here also 1, 2, 3. So it's already 7 in center for white. 7 in center for white, it's same like 14 in Gote. So here it's 14 and here only 4. It's very big difference in my opinion. Here there is next endgame. This is also much bigger than this connection here below. play here for white, for example. All the time there is this problem that black can play there, in my opinion, and it's possible to destroy that side. But white plays here below, black answered, white made this exchange, later white came back. Here also white can come back just like this. It's extra point. Actually, even 2 points, because later this will be center for white. In endgame, there are basically several rules. I think it's not very difficult to learn it. Just like looking that center for opponent are very big, and like if you would like to like learn endgame well, then also trying to calculate this, like something like ko is worth 2/3 of a point, or like playing ko or something like this. There are not very many, like really a lot of rules, but yeah, there are a few rules. Later it's possible to start counting this stuff. Yeah, may be possible to start. Here, maybe it's still possible to cut. White answers, black can play like this. Later, after this, possible to hear. Okay, doesn't really work. There was this exchange, and here it was game over. Yeah, it was 1.5 point game. So it looks like really it's possible to do something here. Really, I would recommend to cut in this spot. This is very big. This one. It looks like there is some agi. Yeah, but this end game here on the top, this one was pretty big. This connection, instead of playing in this spot. Okay, do you have any questions about this game? Okay, so if there are no questions, yeah, thank you very much for your attention. Thank you for watching. Okay, so yeah, thank you, and see you.